Well, that went about as well as expected. It lasted 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. My son made it down the street, and he said that smoke was coming out. And, well, looks like we have found the next weakest link in the system back here, underneath, in between the battery and this thing here. There's a connector on top of the radiator. Either the radiator itself is cracked and leaking, or more likely there's a plastic connector just like the ones we replaced back there, but a little bit bigger, and that sits back there, and I think that is leaking because there is stuff all over the place, obviously coming out from right there. So that has resulted in losing the coolant, and we're gonna need to let it cool off, put the coolant back in, and limp this back home. So it looks like we're in for some more work. We got it home, and examining where the active leaks are coming from, it looks like it's the actual radiator. It seems to be the end cap of the radiator has split, and it's just coming out there. So time for a new radiator, which means this whole front clip comes off. Fortunately, it's not too much work comparative to other things that have to be done on the car, but that's what's next. So I guess we'll be doing a video on changing a radiator. Good morning. I'm not sure where we are going to drop this segment in the ongoing saga, but I have been doing some work at night, which is really hard to film because, well, it's dark. So wanted to give you an update where we're at with the Jetta. We have successfully removed and disposed of the old radiator. We have transferred the confirmed working radiator fans onto the new radiator. And interestingly enough, I'm looking at this. Oh, these were actually bought. These are used fans. They were bought at a pick your part. So, interesting. But they work. New radiator. Back inside here, we took out the old thermostat, which was stuck. So took that out, replaced the thermostat, put the metal thermostat housing in its place. We are replacing all of these connectors right here so that they will have a good O-ring seal. We replaced this connector here because it was also leaking and weak and looked like it was on the verge of exploding. So we essentially have rebuilt almost the entire coolant system here. And today what we're going to do is put it all back together, fill it up, pressure test it, and see how it's doing. Oh, one other thing I'm going to do, as long as we're in here, I'm going to go ahead and take the manifold air pressure sensor out, clean that, and put it back in, because these can lead to problems down the line. And yeah, as long as we're here, we can manage that. So that's accessible. We'll take care of that, and then we'll deal with all of this shenanigans.
2 hours later.
So catching you up here, we made some progress. I'm not filming it while I'm doing it because there's a ton of videos out there that show you, but I wanted to point out a few things. When you are putting the radiator assembly back into this bracket here, there are these really fiddly little plastic wedge-shaped guides that stick on the end on both sides of this, and they have to be guided into the back side of this support. And these are the bolts, or screws, I should say, that hold it in place. So the trick is, the bottom ones slide up and down for alignment. The top ones are just one place. So get the top ones lined up first. And as you're guiding it in, it helps to have this thing mostly in position, but not bolted in on the top, because it gives you a little wiggle room. You can pull it forward, guide it, get the guides into the brackets that they slide into. And as you get one of them in, secure, not completely, but get one of these screws threaded, then you can move over to the other side. When you have both of the top ones threaded, the bottom ones will be like butter. It'll just happen. After you have the radiator assembly bolted in place, then you can do these two fasteners here, this bolt and this bolt that hold the whole radiator support in place. It's also helpful to make all the connections with the radiator, all the hose connections and all of the electrical connections before you bolt all of this into place. So you still have some wiggle room. You can get in there, make sure everything is snug and connected properly. So that's where we're at right now. We're making really good headway at this point. All we have to do is get the bumper core support bolted in place. That's like 4 bolts. And then the bumper itself, we're on the home stretch. Another reassembly tip: get these big, thick 13mm bolts in place first. Don't lock them in all the way, but that will help you support the weight of all this, and then you can deal with all of the small ones that go in places like here and here. I put both of these ones in already, and then on the other side you've got the other 4. Once you've got them all threaded, then tighten it down. Don't forget to put the foam bumper protector under there. I've seen people forget about this completely, and then their bumper is super smushy, so just don't do that. One other reassembly tip: don't forget to thread these things through. It's easier to thread them through the holes while you are mounting it and then have them out here rather than trying to dive in and fish them. Or you can go from underneath and push them through, but it's way easier if you put these through. One side is way longer than the other. You got a lot of room to work with, so just put them through the holes before you mount the bumper onto here. And then after we've got this done, then we can get it lined up and put in the last few holes or bolts that hold it in place, screws, whatever they are. And of course, before we bolt this in place, it's just showing you those things, we want to put the headlights back in, because you can't drive the car without headlights, and with the bumper bolted in place, you can't bolt the headlights back in. So that's kind of an annoying feature, quirk and feature of the Mk4 and many other late model cars is you got to take the bumper cover off to do the headlights. So we've just slid this on, checked the alignment, made sure all the holes line up. It's gonna work fine. We'll pull it back off and deal with the headlights and then put it all back together. I forgot that we needed to deal with this. You may notice there's a reflector floating around in there. Yeah. Wonderful $20 junkyard headlights, which actually do a pretty good job of illumination because of the projector beam, but that's unsatisfactory. I'd like to fix that before we put it all together. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the lens, resecure that, pop it back on, and then we will go back out and finish putting this all back together. So we're going to put it on pause for right now and deal with the headlight.
2 hours later.
Another quick update: we used the heat gun to peel open the lens on here. Just, you take your time, and as you go around, you just sort of wedge a screwdriver in along the edge until it comes apart. You don't have to force it with a whole lot of Kung Fu Voodoo monkey death grip kind of force, but after that, I discovered that one of the mounting tabs on this lens had actually broken, so we are just using basic plastic model cement to put it back so it doesn't cloud up the lens. And we get this back together, and I'm gonna put some black RTV silicone back around the edges to seal it, get it all back together, and then it will go onto the Jetta again. And there we go. She's back assembled. Everything is together, and of course, if you look around, it's starting to rain. So that might make it a little bit challenging to look for leaks, but I'm expecting that if there are any leaks at this point, it's going to be catastrophic. It's not going to be a small leak. So the new radiator is in. We're running it up to temperature, making sure the coolant level is getting, the air is getting burped out of the system as we're going through this. And we will see what happens. Maybe the fans will actually kick on. Maybe she won't overheat. Maybe we're good to go. So I will check back in a little bit after I let her run up to temperature and run for a while, and then we'll see. Ooh, shiny. Yes, indeed. The silver Mk4 Jetta is back, running under its own power. I'll catch you up on what has been going on with that. Tune in. Okay, so if you've been following along, this wonderful, beautiful beast has been kind of, well, she's been challenging these last few months. I will not do a complete catch up right now of the whole history, but I will just say I am very grateful that when I am at the end of my sanity trying to figure things out, I've got some good friends that can help out. So Pure Motorsport, thank you for stepping in and taking her across the finish line and getting everything done. Thank you so much. Everything works. She's functional. We have a working car. It's a very, very good thing. Which is not to say that the project is done. There are, of course, many, many things, a pretty good grocery list of things we need to do on, well, all of the cars. Because, yeah, it's just, that's what you're here for, right? That's the nature of my channel, is all of the cars, all the projects, and it's an ongoing thing. So, all right, I will catch you up with the long story short. Give me just a moment. I don't know how to make a long story short on this. It's such a long story. I'll try. We have this car. It was great. It was running fine. The timing belt broke prematurely. It happens. We weren't due to do it for another 20,000 miles. But it broke, which of course trashed all the valves in the original motor. So we were just gonna wait and deal with it when we could. Someone, out of the kindness of their heart, stepped up and said, we will pay for you to get a new motor put in. Well, not new, a new to us used motor that works put in the car. They would pay for it at no cost to us, and that was a huge blessing for us. Unfortunately, that did not work out as intended because the mechanic, I will use some really big quotes around that put it in, broke so much stuff around the motor. Like, basically, we had to go through and replace all these broken hoses and connectors and electrical components, and there were hose clamps that weren't put back on. There were more hoses that were broken. I mean, nothing was reinstalled correctly. It was just a giant mess. And it took months to fix all of those issues. We finally got the car back on the road. Guess what? It overheated immediately, which we thought was something to do with the cooling fans, because those have issues on this car. And sure enough, the cooling fans on this car were not turning on. They were staying off. And so we started to trace all of the electrical problems that were related to that, got the fans running, finally got them running, and got it on the road, and it immediately overheated again because the new to us used motor that somebody so kindly paid to put in was a bad motor. The shop that put it in didn't test it. They didn't leak down test it. They didn't do compression tests. They didn't check it to make sure that it was okay, and they sent it on its way with us, and it was just a big pile of junk. So we had to then deal with this used motor that we didn't know what the condition was, didn't know the history, nothing. So I ended up calling in my friends at Pure Motorsport. Michael, thank you so much for helping us out with that. If you are in the San Diego area and you have a water-cooled Volkswagen or Audi, Pure Motorsport is the place to take it to get service things done and performance enhancements as well. They're mainly a performance shop, but they will do stuff like this too. So thank you. Anyway, they went through, ripped out the cylinder head, sent it to the machine shop, had a valve job done, all the head work that you need to get done so that it would work fine, put it all back together, and now it runs without overheating. So we're functional on this car again, which I'm very excited about to have that car running, because the Sequoia over there still needs a ton of work to be done to it. And there's also our black Jetta, Joan Jetta. She needs a clutch and she needs a lot of other work. I'm going to do a timing belt on her and some other stuff coming up, so I'll be filming a timing belt video. Not that anybody needs another timing belt video. If you've never watched the one that ECS Tuning did, they did an awesome job with theirs. I think SCP Euro also has a fantastic timing belt video out there. So there's videos that have already been done. You don't need mine, but I'm going to do one anyway because I'm going to be doing the work, so why not? Anyway, on this, we still need to refresh the suspension because it's still on the stock GLS suspension. We're going to put on a factory GLI suspension, which will lower it just a little bit and make it look a little bit better with those 18-inch Aristos. It's just got a little bit too much gap, and frankly, I'd like a firmer ride on it. And there are some other little tidbits here and there that we're going to take care of. But overall, she's functional. We're glad. So thank you for bearing with us on that, and we will be on to our other project adventures very soon. Tune back in, hit subscribe if you want to see more auto mayhem as we get into it. Bye-bye. See you next time. God bless. Bye-bye.
And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back.